All right, it is 7:30 on May the 8th, 2018. Call to order the council meeting for the city of Walton. If I could, I'd like to ask Councilman John Wainwright to, or excuse me, nope, we're changing it up. My bad, my apologies. I would like to ask Paula Burden if she would do the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Paula? Thank you.
Dear Heavenly Father, God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for the sunshine that you brought to us today. God, be with this council meeting. Let everything that we say and do bring glory to you. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could please get a roll call.
Carl Dietz. Here. John Wainwright.
Here.
Bobby McDonald.
Here.
Rose Beach.
Here.
Stephanie Williams.
Here.
Matt Brown.
Here.
Okay. All right, for the announcements, actually, I believe the first one, May 26th, the youth program is going to be postponed until the next month due to Labor Day, or the holiday weekend. May 28th, the City Hall will be closed in observance of Memorial Day. On June 5th, we will have a caucus meeting at City Hall at 6:30. June 12th will be a council meeting at the Senior Center, 7:30. June 9th, we will have a citywide yard sale. There is no permit needed. June 23rd, there is movie night at the Walton City Park. Boone County Parks has not announced what movie will be played. I was hoping to do this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do one. I have two proclamations for this evening. The person receiving the other proclamation is running just a little bit late, so I will fit that in as he arrives. But this is a proclamation for National Garden Week. Whereas Boone County Garden Club was organized in 1947 and federated in 1952 with a mission to provide education and resources to its members while promoting the love of gardening and civic and environmental responsibilities. And whereas gardeners have a passion for nurturing the beauty and resources of the earth through the planting of seeds, the care of all plants, and the riches of their efforts. And whereas gardeners seek to add beauty, splendor, fragrance, and nutrition to our lives through the growing of herbs, vegetables, foliage, flowers. And whereas gardeners work to preserve our country's traditional spirit of independence and initiative through innovation and hard work. And whereas gardeners advocate the importance of all creatures, large and small, that our world and their roles in a balanced and productive ecology. And whereas gardening is a challenging, productive, and healthy activity for those just learning as well as those having years of experience. Whereas gardening benefits your health, promotes a healthy lifestyle, reduces stress, and proves that rewards come from diligent efforts. I, Mayor Gabe Brown of the City of Walton in the County of Boone and State of Kentucky, do hereby proclaim the week of June 3rd through the 9th, 2018, National Garden Week, recognized in Walton. In Boone County, and recognize gardeners of our great city for the beauty and benefits of gardening that are reaped individually by our entire community. And witness whereof, I hereto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Walton to be affixed this 8th day of May, 2018. I would like to present this to the Boone County Garden Club. Miss Evelyn Hance writes very beautifully. All right, like I said, I have another one. I'm waiting on that gentleman to arrive. But let's go ahead and go with the approval of the agenda, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Can I get a vote? Or,
Carl Dietz.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Bobby McDonald.
Yes.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
next I would need an approval of the previous minutes for March 6th, special meeting, April 10th, regular council meeting.
So move.
Second.
All right, can I get a vote?
Carl Dietz.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Bobby McDonald.
Yes.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Earlywine?
Mr. Mayor.
I have Gary Moore coming. Is he,
Yes, Mayor, we had a fiscal court meeting tonight, we both left, and I must drive a little fast, because he's right behind me.
okay, so he should be here shortly?
Yes, sir.
All right. I promise I will get, if you're, any of you are reading the agenda, I will get to citizens' comments, but I'm going to go ahead and get Major Bill Mark. Would you like to come up and speak to us?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. It's my pleasure to be with you again tonight to report on behalf of Sheriff Helmick and the Sheriff's Department. You have before you the Sheriff's Department activity report for the city of Walton for the month of April 2018. If you remove spot checks, which I explained at the last meeting was a concentrated patrol effort, you're looking at 513 total events for law enforcement in the city of Walton for the month of April, or breaks down to about 17 law enforcement events per day. During that time period, deputies took 35 reports, issued 55 citations, and arrested 13 individuals. It must be somewhat ominous. I had an email conversation with Councilmember McDonald about law enforcement activity and thefts and criminal problems in the Walton Park on the 18th of April, to which I replied to him that in 2017 we really hadn't had any problems in the park. And then lo and behold, 10 days later we had a felony criminal mischief where several picnic tables were damaged. We've been coordinating with the Parks Department and the Parks Director, and that investigation is ongoing by the assigned deputy. Is there any questions or comments you have for me?
Is there going to be any increased, I know up at the park, I mean, we put a lot of, I know they damaged also the dog park as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know we put a lot of projects this year into our parks. So
Right.
I know last time you said a lot of, sometimes the league can go up there and eat their lunch, those type of things. Is there any, towards the end of the evening type opportunities to patrol?
Yeah, we continue to ask the deputies to enhance patrols in the park, do extra patrols there, and like you said, a lot of deputies take their breaks there. I believe in 2017, we checked the park nearly 500 times over the course of the year. So we're probably in the park on the average of almost once per shift. But we'll continue our patrol efforts and coordinate the investigation, and hopefully we can find the individual or individuals responsible for the damage.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Major.
Thank you, sir.
All right, excuse me.
Judge Moore's here.
Judge Moore, you arrived perfect time. Would you like to come address the council?
Thank you very much. This is something that I try to do at least once a year, or about once a year, and it's good to be with you tonight. Thank you first for your service. I know when you are elected to represent a unit of government, it's a labor of love and something that you're called to do. We know you don't do it for the money. So first of all, thank you for your leadership and for your service to the city of Walton. We, at the county level, continue to work on our county budget for the upcoming year. And as we put the budget together, we continue to look at needs for all areas of the county. And once again, this year, we're looking at everything from social services to the things we do with roads, of course, the things we do with the sheriff's department, law enforcement. I think back to the merger that we did back in 2001 when the city of Walton had a police force. And when the merger took place, we took the county police department, the county sheriff, city of Walton, Union probably would have had a police force by now with their growth. And we molded all of that into one countywide sheriff's department to serve the people of Boone County. And it's worked well. We have great divisions within the sheriff's department. One of those, of course, is now our school resource officers, where we put a school resource officer in every public school in the county. And we know with what's going on in our world that is a greatly needed service and something that we're happy to partner with the sheriff and of course the Board of Education's Walton Verona as well as Boone County. When I look at some of the things we're doing, of course so much of it centered around roads with the tremendous amount of growth that we have here in the county. We've communicated with many of you through the last few months as the legislature met about the needs for the southbound I-75 ramp here at Walton, the need to have dual left turns, have a dedicated right turn, and that's something we continue to work on. It got into the road plan, not as high as we wanted it, but I want to continue to do what we can through OKI, Council of Government, which is the Metropolitan Planning Organization for our region that deals with interstate highways primarily, to look at how we may get some things done to kickstart that study and get it done sooner than what it shows in the road plan. We are blessed that Sal Santoro, our state representative, chairs the budget committee within the transportation area of the House of Representatives, and that is a key position. Sal has a lot of clout there, and we want to work through him to try to get that project expedited. We need to do that. It's not a complicated project, but the Federal Highway Administration, because they administer the interstate system, they require certain things to be done before we can go out there and contract with a private contractor to go out there and do what needs to be done. First, you have to do the evaluation and the study to make sure that it doesn't impact the main line of traffic, the interstate highway. But even beyond that, they have to ensure that the scope of work that's going to be done will fix the problem and that the money is going to be used as best it can. We right now also, as we work on our budget, we look at the growth of the county and what is happening. And I should mention Jeff Earlywine, our county administrator, the deputy judge executive, is with me here tonight. Jeff's back here. The reason I was running late, we had a fiscal court meeting tonight, so the county commissioners and I just finished a court meeting. But when we look at some of the things happening down here, we look at often gauge what's happening in a community by the number of building permits and the amount of activity that's going on from our building department. Development, some of the numbers for fiscal year 2018 to date. Let's see, we had 45 permits totaling $5.4 million in value. We had 4 new commercial buildings in the area, $1.48 million, 42 apartment units, 7 buildings, $5.27 million, and 7 commercial building alterations for just shy of $1 million. Total, about $13 million worth of projects and work just here in the Walton area. Another area we're looking at is down on Stevenson Mill. I know it's outside the city limits, but I know this community is a little broader than where the actual footprint of the city is, and we've had a bad slide down on Stevenson Mill Road. The county has that on our radar, and we have been trying to develop a plan to continue to get it reopened. The people there are being inconvenienced by having to go around. You can't go all the way through right now. But those are some of the highlights I wanted to touch on. As always, the partnership we have with the 3 cities in Boone County, where we have a unified planning and zoning commission, where we have unified building inspection, where so many things, I mentioned Sheriff's Department already, where so many of the things that you and we do as city and county, we can do it more efficiently and serve the public and our people more efficiently if we work together. So I'll stop there and just take any questions you might have tonight. I always like to allow a little time for questions. I know you got a busy agenda, and I don't want to take up any more of your time unless you have questions.
Council?
Yeah, hey Gary, are you John Wainwright?
Yes, John.
So on that, the road plan, what item did make it on the list for the city of Walton?
Yeah, the design money for the exit was in there, but as far as any other projects in the city, I don't recall in the legislative plan there being any. I believe there are some funds that flow to projects through the OKI budget, SNK funds. Of course, the High Street Bridge, the pedestrian bridge, that was a grant that, working together, city and county, we were able to secure. I'm trying to recall if there are any other SNK or TA projects in Walton at the moment. There's not. But you bring up a good point. Jeff, do you recall what the deadline is for this round of funding request for TA?
Sometime in June, Judge.
Sometime in June. Right now, there's a funding cycle open to be able to apply to OKI for projects. And what's called SNK funds are federal dollars that flow through through OKI. And those projects can do things like turn lanes, sometimes some minor widening. They can do sidewalks, multi-use paths. The TA is transportation, used to be TE, transportation enhancement. But the TA program is designed primarily for sidewalks, bike paths, and that type of thing. So if you have some projects that you're looking at within the city limits that those could fit, we at the county would be happy to work with you and your city engineer to try to do that. We've been pretty successful with those grants. We've won several of them, so we know how to write them and be effective.
Yeah, that'd be great, because I know we have a couple projects that we're working on right now that seem like that fit inside that bucket. So Matt, Mayor, hopefully we're able to work hand in hand with the county government
You're familiar with the OKI?
to get some dollars to work on some of these projects.
Absolutely. Those do require a match, and the greater the match, the better you score. Used to be if you could come up with 20%, you're going to do pretty good. Anymore, it's 50% you need. But if it's a project you're going to do anyway, 50% is better than 100%. So,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? We're happy to work with you through that.
Judge, does any of those programs cover water and sewer upgrades?
Those do not. There are other funds through the state primarily. It used to be there were dollars for sewer projects. That's really gotten very tight. And water about the same. We do have, the Area Development District is the best source for those kinds of grant requests. Contact the ad and see what they might have in those areas. We've not been successful. Other than this, Community Development Block Grant is another program through the state. It's federal funds, once again, that flow through state. But Community Development Block Grant, we did just secure one of those for a community that still had septic tanks, that we needed to get septic tanks decommissioned and get them on public sewer. It was a health issue, public health surface water, it was a bad situation. But to get a community development block grant, you need to qualify a low to moderate income area. If it's a very wealthy area, you're not going to meet the threshold. But if it's a community where your average income for the people that live in the area you're going to be served are at or below the LMI, low to moderate income, at that point you could apply for a community development block grant. In the one case that we got up off of Evergreen Drive off of Weaver, we actually won a $1 million grant. The project's about $2.5 million, but we were able to secure $1 million of that, so almost half the project. And so if you have an area of water, sewer, where you have a low to moderate income area, that may be a resource, and we can help you with that, but the ad is your best source. Any other questions?
Judge Moore, June 1st is the deadline to submit the application.
For the TA and the SNK, those are through OKI. June 1 for the deadline. I welcome any questions from you all as well, from the audience, if you have time. I don't want to slow you down. I know you got other things on the agenda. Any questions? All right. Well, thank you again. You know how to find me. Several of you call me when you have questions, and I try to always be accessible. We do value the partnership, and what's good for Walton is good for the county, and I believe the other way, the opposite as well. Jeff, anything you would want to add? All right. Thank you again. Appreciate it. Love your community.
Thanks, Garrett.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Excuse me. I had, oh, well, let me take a quick pause on some of that. I don't see Chief Ollier, but I do see Steve Coffin. Steve, if you'd like to come up, some of you may remember Steve. Steve grew up in Walton. I have a mayor's proclamation to read here. Mayor's proclamation, May 8th, 2018. On this day, May 8th, 2018, I, Mayor Gabriel Brown, on behalf of the citizens of Walton, do hereby declare that the first Saturday in May, aka Derby Day, to be henceforth known as Steve Coffin Day in the city of Walton in honor of the 40th anniversary of Steve's epic Triple Crown ride aboard affirmed in 1978. Whereas Steve is the son of Walton, the youngest Triple Crown winning jockey, a 1994 inductee into the United States Racing Hall of Fame, and the only jockey ever to be named Sports Illustrated Man of the Year, we honor him and offer him the key to the city in addition to this proclamation. Done this day, May 8th, 2018.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're all right.
I said my daughter got back from college. So.
All right.
Should I come around there?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm not good at this.
Me neither.
Thank you.
Now, I got another trinket for you here. Here's an official one for your hat.
Oh, right. Thank you very much.
It's only official if you get the small hat.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Very kind of you guys.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks very much.
All right, I do not see Chief Ollier. It's my hopes, I had some miscommunication with him. I was unable, he was in meetings earlier and I was unable to clarify, but it's my hopes to have Chief Ollier from the fire department come, but I guess he was unable to make it tonight. Matt Bogan from Cardinal Engineering.
Thank you, Mayor. So on topic of SNK and TAP grants, the High Street pedestrian bridge. Our field crew went out a couple weeks ago and surveyed the additional area to the east of the bridge so we could figure out where the ramps would tie in. We have what we think is an agreeable design on the ADA ramps, and have sent everything back to Norfolk Southern to hopefully finalize the permitting process. I have not heard any response on the comments yet, but hopefully something soon. I've also been in touch with Duke Energy and Cincinnati Bell for the utility impact coordination, just to make sure what we're doing isn't going to impact any of their lines. That's part of the grant documentation that the state wants to see. Also, the city's received proposals from pre-qualified right-of-way consultants, and we're working on moving forward with the easement acquisition. Really, all that we need from the state is the official order authorizing us to go ahead before we can move on with that. Also, we're in the process of putting together a better defined cost estimate for the entire project. We have some pretty good idea for the bridge itself, but just the installation and the footing, the side items. And as an aside, one of the other engineers in our office happened to be in touch with a company that is a vendor for handicap elevators. So we are working with them to try and get a quote and see if elevators would be a more cost-effective option than the ADA ramps. It would certainly require a much smaller footprint on the site and hopefully less impact to utilities and other things around there. So I'll keep you guys in the loop once I hear something on that. The school road turn lane, we sent the revised encroachment permit plans back to KYTC last Wednesday, and bid documents are ready and pretty much just waiting on the approved permit to put out the bid. Also, following up on something we discussed in the last month's council meeting and the caucus meeting, I got in touch with the state to see if they would be agreeable to letting us put another light fixture on the signal pole at that corner, and they're checking with Frankfurt to see if there's anything policy-wise that would prohibit that, but as far as a safety measure, just given the pedestrian fatality out there last year, they think it's a good idea. So I'll let you know when I hear something on that as well. The Ryan lift station in Forest, Maine, I stopped out there on my way today. The grass is starting to come up, but it's still a little patchy, so I'd like to give it a little bit longer, just see if we can get better coverage before we pay it out and close the project out. And the High Street Pocket Park, we had the bid opening on April 30th for just the park equipment, the play equipment, and the benches and other fixtures. The apparent low bidder was Bluegrass Recreational Sales and Installation at $47,553.20. And I believe there's going to be a vote on the results of that tonight. So, with that, are there any questions, council?
School road turn lane, have you heard anything back from Kay about that?
Oh, I have not been able to reach him. I have the phone number that you guys provided, and then another one that was apparently an old number on file at our office. Tried that, and they laughed and said he hasn't been there in years. So yeah, I'll keep calling until I hear something.
So we need to get in touch with him.
Anything else?
Thank you, man.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. All right, as we do have a lot to get to, I'll go ahead and I'm going to open this up to citizens' comments. Not sure if you all would either like to come to the podium. I know we have some people that would like to speak. You can either come to the podium or I can start, pass the microphone around.
Oh, that one.
We have signage.
Paula Burton.
Paula? I don't care where I started.
Actually, it's going to be Dolores Cheeseman.
Okay.
Speak to us.
Hi, my name is Dolores Cheeseman, and I guess I want to thank you, first of all, for allowing us to come at short notice. We appreciate that. But Paula Burton and I were talking about the last several years, we've been talking about, number one, the food kitchen, which you may be aware of that now. She's got that up and started. And then we've always had a concern about kids not getting fed. On Wednesday night at our church, we feed anywhere from 65 to 75 kids every Wednesday night, except during the summer. When the school's out, we do not do that. So we have a concern, what's going to happen during the summertime if these kids are not being fed. Of course, we can't feed them every night, we know that. But what we would like to do is pass out goodie boxes, and maybe once a week down at the park, if we can get kids down there, to feed them a snack and then take a box home with them. We tried this 2 years ago. It was not successful. We averaged maybe 3 kids. We're not real sure if the need is that broad in Walton as far as homeless and need. We are getting a lot of people on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the soup kitchen, but thus far, we haven't had the homeless. We've had a few, which we've taken care of their needs as far as clothing, food to take with them, and feed them there that particular time. But we mostly had people that are widowed, are widowers. They come, they socialize, which is a great thing, because otherwise they would not see people. They just get enthused about coming and talking to people and being with people. So it's working out very well that way. But our major concern is the children. Are we reaching the kids? And I live in Kenton County, but I go to Walton Baptist, and I was raised in Walton. But our concern is, are we reaching the kids that are really in need of food? And we thought we'd start here first, and if you all have some insight that we don't have, we would love to know about it. If it's not needed here in the city, then we are going to go closer to Covington. We know there's a need there because we've done a lot of work down there. We know what's going on down there. We know that we can go down there and hand out boxes of food all day long. And it's going to be something that people are going to want. And I know that a lot of the people, they just use the same thing over and over and over. Because probably on Pike Street, you've got probably 10 different organizations down there that feed the hungry. And I know that probably the same family probably goes to 10 different places. We know all of that. Because when I was working, I still work, but I'm retired. But that don't mean nothing. But when I was working, I had a group from Levi's that would go down there all the time. We did a lot of outreach, and we could always pass out plenty of food. So I guess my whole thing tonight, and Paula, the awareness of the soup kitchen, it's there. If you want to use it on Tuesday and Thursday, it's there for the taking. We want people to use that facility. It's at our outreach building down by the library. You don't have to be homeless. You don't have to be in dire need. What we are seeing, that it's really helping out twofold. If the needy come in and they really need food, we're going to feed them, or we'll give them something to take out with them. But also, there's so many people in this area that are senior citizens that they don't want to cook for themselves. It's hard to cook for one person. So they like coming up there and socializing and getting all the gossip, of course. But it's really a nice, so we would like you all to pass that on, number one. Number two, if there's a need to help the kids, we want to be on board with it. If not, then we want to go someplace else, basically. That's all I have. And I think if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them. But we have access to food at a very low rate of money. We've been very fortunate to team up with other people, and we get donations, and we can also buy food very cheap. And we can prepare these boxes for these kids. You might have any questions? Oh, we did team up with the school to get an insight on if they have a list of names that we could contact. We've not finalized that yet, but we did find out there was some need there, but not really broad. It's not a big need. I think we have a lot of activities in Walton, but again, we don't want to see any child go hungry. We see what happens on Wednesday night up at church. A lot of them is our members, but several kids we pick up, and I won't name areas, but that we pick up, we actually catch these kids putting food in their pockets. And we take care of those kids. We make sure that they got a goodie bag when they go home that night. But we want to know how broad this problem is. So,
Yeah, thank you, Dolores and Paula for coming. But also, I'm just impressed with what you guys are doing in the community with the soup kitchen. I think it's just fantastic. You guys this is a real blessing for the community, so great job. In regards to the school, have you touched base with Nancy Ryan?
yes.
I know she does the peanut butter and jelly in the summer and all that, so that's where my first thing would be to, start, maybe that we can do a collaborative effort.
We have done that, and she will probably come on board because she is retiring this year. So I think she's excited about doing other things also. So she'll probably be working with us some on that. I didn't want to throw names out, but
No, I mean,
Since she brought it
I
up,
know she's
yeah.
done in the
Paula,
past, and it
yeah.
sounds similar. So, in regards to need, I'm just not sure. In what areas are needed. And I think hunger is a very quiet thing, right? People are embarrassed to say they're hungry. So whatever help that I can be. I know I love to hang, do the food pantry with you guys. I think it's fantastic. But whatever help I can be, or I'm sure anyone on this council or mayor or the city building, to help, hey, just all you gotta do is dial me up. I'll come and help you out.
Okay.
I already told Paula one day at the soup kitchen, I'm gonna come cook. I just don't know what day yet. I gotta find a day in my
well, you
schedule.
have to have the credentials to do so.
I've thrown a knife around once or twice, so, but yeah, one of those days I'll come, but in regards to need, I'm just not sure, but yeah, hey, whatever you need, I'm sure I'll help you.
And when you all have, I notice you have movie night, when you all have community things, if we can kind of hype it up or help with refreshments or something, contact one of us,
That's great.
okay? Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Pass it all down the line, I guess, however it goes.
Dolores, after this meeting, you can just hang out for a minute. We're looking at Old Fashioned Day. We're talking about maybe doing a teen event, and maybe for snacks and stuff like that. That might be a good
Okay.
spot. So if you just want to hang out for a minute and get my information,
Okay.
awesome. Thank you.
I was wanting to address a water problem that we have on the south end of town, and I'm glad the engineer is here and that. But on Mulberry Street and Edward Avenue, there is a pipe and head walls or drop box, catch basin, has been built in several years ago. We have a bad water problem on the whole street, and you gotta put boots on the ground to see what we're talking about when it rains. But I believe that we need to get down there and try to get that pipe and that catch basin open back up, because it catches a lot of water off the top of that hill behind my house. I'm at 207 per house on the left. And that was there, was the incline coming down Mulberry, the old alley that we just closed out. And then, even coming off of Edwards, a little ways back to the old alley, I'm gonna say 50 feet. But I'm gonna say that one time, maybe they did kind of go into that step. But there is a lot of water coming out of there, and if we could just get in there and check that out and get that open back up, because that water's supposed to spill on down to the lake, not out on the rivers. This lady here catches the brunt of it.
on my property.
And she is at the corner.
Just so I can address council real quick, the paper that I passed out to you all is a printout I'm sorry, I forget to do that. The paper I just passed out to council is a printout that is from when the sewer line was put in the 70s. Roger dug it up for me. The dotted line that I circled there is that's a culvert pipe that runs under a city street. That is a city pipe, is no longer exposed. So he is correct on that there was a pipe there.
is 18-inch, so we put an 18-inch pipe there, so you can carry some water.
Matt has looked into it. Matt, if I can get you his number, or you can get with him after the meeting, that'd be fine with you?
So Mayor, do we think that this is just a failing pipe, or do we think that there's been something moved in the grading, or because I didn't hear that, like, it was broken, or, what are we hearing in regards to
Well,
that? Or what do you
without
know?
going into too much detail, I believe it was filled in by somebody that lived on that street. At least that's been told to me, but, it's secondhand to me, regardless of whether I believe it or not. But there's definitely a pipe under there, and at some point it has definitely been filled in.
Do we have an
And-
easement to access it, or? and
Yes, that
work
is
on it?
all on city right away, all the way up and down that street as our water line runs through. And because it goes under our road, that pipe is ours. So, yes,
Got it, thank you. Appreciate it.
whoever wants to grab the proverbial contract.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name's Charles Walton. I'm the owner of Champs Boxing Gym, and I'm here to ask you to lease me the garage across the street to put my boxing and fitness center in. And it's something that I think will benefit the city of Walton by getting young kids and adults in the gym working out. And I'm a former Marine. I entered the Marine Corps in '61, served till 1966. I'm not a former Marine, I am a Marine. And across my career, I won 31 fights, lost 4. I have 7 children, 5 boys, 2 girls. Married for 41 years. Also trained my 2 sons who became Cincinnati Gold Glove champs, Kentucky State Gold Glove champs, Silver Glove champs, and even runner-up to the biggest amateur boxing event in the world called the Ringside Tournament. Boxing is a great confidence builder, good for your character, and no matter the age, if you want to get in shape, learn to box, we're excited to work with you. And all the coaches, I have 2 coaches right here behind me, we're all certified with USA Boxing, the Olympic out of Colorado Springs. And we all get FBI background checks every year. And I was once vice president of amateur boxing in Kentucky, also the chief official of amateur boxing in Kentucky. And I would like to work out an agreement with the city council on leasing the garage out for the activities I want to train for. Can I have my coaches?
Go for it.
Thank you. My name is Pat Crowley. I'm one of the coaches down here. I would like to say, I guess I've been helping Charlie off and on for about 3 years now. While it would be nice for us to make a profit and make some money, that's not what we're in it for, and we've never done that. For the most part, Charlie's had to add money to pay for our expenses, and the coaches have worked for free. But we do it because we like to help the kids, we like to help the adults that come, we think it gets people in shape, we think it gives kids confidence, and it's a good sport. We had one of our kids compete a couple of weeks ago, Nick over there, in the development bout that we took over in Ohio. So, again, none of us are in this to make money. We'd love to be profitable and make a little bit of money to put my time in it. We've never been in that state. We basically do it because we want to help kids, help the adults. Thank you.
I would like to say that Pat, before he retired, was the chief federal probation officer in the state of Ohio.
Hi, my name is Mark Antona. I'm not one of the coaches, but I do go to the gym a lot. I found out about 4 years ago, when I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, that boxing is really good for it. And I can attest on my doctor's report telling me that I've almost put it into remission. I've survived Parkinson's for 4 years without any increase, basically because of the boxing. And it's not because we're out there to hit somebody, knock somebody's block out. They're working on a lot of things. For me, working on balance and different things like that really help me out. So physically, people with Parkinson's, if you really Google it and look it up, you have to find out the boxing is one of the most sought after things for people with Parkinson's disease from progressing.
Hi, I'm Tom. I'm the other coach at Charlie's Gym. And I just wanted to point out that we had a bunch of members tonight come out to support, lobbying you guys to rent your building. We got from Bailey to Nick and Johnny and Matt. All these people came out, just to show their support, and how much they love our gym.
Hey, how you doing? I've known Charlie. First of all, my name is Greg Morrow. I'm not from Walton, but I'm here on behalf of Charlie and Champ Gym, and also my wife. She was born and raised in this town, like I said, I've known Charlie a long time. I was a Marine too. I actually retired in 2008. I was 03-26, and I was a former drill instructor. And Charlie actually helped me get my coaching license through USA Boxing. Charlie's always at the gym. If he's not there, one of the coaching staff is always there. Or I'm there. I pop in from time to time. There's always parents there. And Charlie, he's been involved in boxing. From in the '60s. Actually with Terry O'Brien and stuff like that. So he's been around the game a long time. And boxing actually helps the kids out, kind of helps, at home, makes them more respectful. Coming from a martial arts background, it actually helps with their grades, helps them be, more, disciplined in school and stuff like that. And it's a great program. It gets kids off the street. You got kids at home that had trouble with home lives. It gives them a place to go. It gives the kids a place. If they're doing really good in the gym, and the coach is like, hey, you know what? You're doing a great job. You're improving. Your skills are improving. Some of the kids don't get that at home. Their parents don't pay attention to them. Or maybe they got troubled parents, or maybe their parents are, involved in something else. And it's, to me, it's a great opportunity. That's all I got. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Christine. My children go to the boxing gym. I have a 9-year-old son that goes 5 days a week. He has ADHD and was very uncontrollable. I took him to Charlie and Tom, and he doesn't have his outbursts anymore. And they taught him that he does not use what they train him to do on other people. It is strictly inside that gym. He is a wonderful kid now. He does not have any problems at school. Last year I was getting calls every day from his teacher that he was having outbursts and disruptive, and since going to the gym the last 6 months, he has never had a color change. His teacher has never said he is the model student. I mean, he loves these guys, and they do wonders with him. I couldn't ask for a better group of guys to help my son.
My name's Josh Williams. I'm also here on behalf of Champs Boxing Gym. I also got, I go with my son as well, we've been going actually since October last year. And with me, I play a lot of video games. I'll be the first to admit, and that's all I really do. He also did it, but it helped, 2 hours a day, got me and him out of the house, actually just the whole family out of the house, to do exactly what, everybody says they wish they could do. But it's also, I also had, anger issues, and going there, it's helped me, learn how to deal with my self-discipline. But these guys, even if I have a problem, hey, I got a problem, I just need to vent out. And, these aren't friends, man. This is family. And I don't think we can get any stronger than what we are today.
Hello, Mayor, Council. I am Bailey Johnson. I'm a member of James Boxing Gym as well. I've been going there for about a year now. And James Boxing Gym has helped me with a lot. I struggle with anxiety from school and stress from school, and the boxing gym has offered a place for me to go and release that. And not only have I done that, I made a bunch of friends, and some of them are more than that to me. They're more like family. It's a great place, and I think it would be a great thing to do.
Any other citizens' comments?
My name's Gary Manning. I've been in this town since my birth. I grew up on the same street as Carl and Matt, graduated with Bobby. The mayor was once my tutor. The only time I left this town was 4 years left in the Marine Corps. And when I left, and when I returned back, I found this whole town had changed. It had gone from farmlands to subdivisions to turning the lake into a Kroger. And I just think this whole town has just changed ever since. What this town lacks is a way for these kids to come together. I've been asked the city since the mid-90s when I was a child to get something. When the IGA first closed down, we asked to bring something in there. But the present mayor, again, ignored everybody. We came to 2 different meetings and basically told after that that this was a dead issue. It's little things like trying to run soup kitchens and things like that to bring this community back together, I feel. I mean, I remember when I grew up in these streets, everybody knew everybody. Everybody's kids, everybody's kid, should have brought my paper. Everybody's kids, knew that the parents was going to watch vigilantly, the other kids. Knew that the parents were going to vigilantly watch the children. Nowadays, you don't have that. It seems like there's so many new people in this town, it's hard to even tell who your neighbors even are. Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions, any comments from council before we move on?
I'll probably address council comments.
Okay, fair enough. All right. We have municipal road aid fiscal year 2019 resolution and agreement. Do we have a shortened version of this? This is just mainly.
Well, I can shorten it. This is a very similar setup to previous years. This year, they have anticipated that Walton's share of the municipal road aid funds will be $72,677.41. As in previous years, they'll dole that out in a couple of different increments, providing there's a lawsuit going on. You all probably know that there was a big flurry of activity at the end of the legislature this year. There's a lawsuit going on. Considering that comes out favorably and we have a budget that's blessed by the courts, that will be the amount that we have. If you all want to accept that amount and authorize the mayor to enter into that agreement. As I indicated, it's the same agreement as we've signed before. You can do that by adopting this resolution that came with it. You can do that by motion.
Motion.
Second.
Can I get a vote on that, please?
Carl Dietz.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Bobby McDonald.
Yes.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
All right, next is discussion action. We're accepting the bid for the High Street Pocket Park. So Mr. Bogan had said earlier. I lost it. We put out to bid for the High Street Pocket Park. We had 3 bidders. The lowest bid was Bluegrass, and they came in at a sum of $47,553.20. This is just, I just need a motion for council to authorize me to sign the contract with them.
Motion.
Second.
Got Matt, Bobby, and we need a vote, yep.
Carl Dietz.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Bobby McDonald.
Yes.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Okay. Contract has been signed. We'll get that in works for everybody. Next is the reading of Municipal Order 2018-1. Should I,
Let me read it.
you can if you want to.
Yeah. This is Municipal Order 2018-01, a municipal order of the City of Walton, Kentucky, appointing and approving Caitlin Fugate to fill the unexpired term of Michael Bryan on the City of Walton Board of Adjustment for the remainder of his full 4-year term to expire on June 30, 2019, or as soon as her successor is appointed, approved, disqualified, and sworn in. As we discussed at caucus, there is vacancy on the Board of Adjustment, and the mayor afterwards talked to Caitlin Fugate, and she agreed. So if you wish to put her on the Board of Adjustment, you can do that by motion.
Motion.
Second.
All right, can I get a vote?
Carl Dietz.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Bobby McDonald.
Yes.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me. Next is Municipal Order 2018-02. This is municipal order of the City of Walton, Kentucky, appointing and approving Sharon L. Stevenson as City Clerk, Finance Officer, and authorizing and directing the mayor and city attorney to work out the terms of her employment. Mike,
Yeah, you just read the title, basically by explanation. As you know, there's a vacancy in the office of City Clerk Finance. The mayor and the city put out for solicitation of proposals and resumes and applications. The mayor was impressed with Sharon L. Stevenson. I think you all heard from her last week. And the mayor has, through his appointment power, appointed her, provided city council approves. Paragraph 3 of this municipal order indicates that if you approve this, then the mayor and I would work together with Ms. Stevenson to work out the terms of her employment. We do have a pay classification plan that she would be working within. She also would like to be treated as a lateral transfer. I think she indicated she had 18 years' experience with her previous city. She would like to transfer into our system for terms of insurance and sick days and vacation days and so on. So that would need to be worked out within our personnel policies. So if you wish to approve the mayor's appointment, you would do that by motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Good discussion.
discussion.
So, obviously, this process, and, for full disclosure, the rest of the council, me and the mayor sat down prior to this meeting. As you are all aware, we were just had differences of opinion of the process, right? And so, I don't want that to stand in the way of someone who I think probably could do a pretty good job. But I just want us to be, clear in the future, just to be, have a little more, collaboration inside that. I appreciate that, and I think we'll make the right decision, right, with that, and so it's not about if she's going to be the right person or if she's going to do a good job. I'm sure she will. I just want to make sure that, in the future, right, as we move on to other items and other agenda items and we come to a consensus for collaboration, that happens, right? I think that would be a process across the whole council and mayor and our two branches of government just work much more seamlessly, through that. And I know we have a group up here that I know is willing to work well together, right? I just think we are. I think it's a strong group. Everyone has strong opinions, but that's all I would add. And then question in regards to compensation with Mr. Duncan, would that be covered now? Because it's right, the grid system, right? So is she asking to transfer in at the 18-year mark on the grid, or can you give us more clarification in
Yes.
regards? Because we're coming up on a budget, we're going to have to budget for it.
Right,
We
I
do
can
approve
tell you
sharing.
that what she has asked for would be close to the top of our grid.
She has also asked, and honestly, the terms, as far as vacation, as she would be happy with what she understands that technically, by all definitions, as far as the city of Walton would go, that she would be a new employee. She would only ask that she would kind of be, treated as somebody that her experience would be considered as she has worked for 18 years for a municipality in the state of Kentucky. She has the same amount of retirement time if she were to come work for Walton, through its same retirement system, right? So, she understands that, and maybe this is something we work out in the process. She understands that, may not be able to provide all of that, but, she asked for what we give her. But it is within, the terms are still being negotiated as far as it would go, but it is within our, our salary range for that position.
Vote.
Any more discussion? Okay, can I get a vote, please?
Carl Dietz,
Yes.
John Wainwright,
Yes.
Bobby McDonald,
Yes.
Rose Beach,
Yes.
Stephanie Williams,
No.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
All right, thank you, council. Next, we have a resolution number 2018-01. This is a, Mike, do you want to explain this?
Yeah. Let me read it and then I'll explain it. This is a resolution of the City of Walton, Kentucky, authorizing the occupants of the various offices and positions to deal with the city's funds placed with Fork Bank. When Mayor Brown took office, he started going around and getting signed up for the various banks and accounts and so on that we have, and found that at Fork Bank we had a very antiquated list of officers and people who were authorized to deal with our accounts there. I think we have 3 or 4 accounts there. The bank has asked that we specifically adopt a resolution to name the people and their positions that are authorized to make deposits, transfers, sign checks, things like that. This authorization would then allow the mayor to decide who would be on what accounts and who can do what transactions and so on. So the way that it's set up is the mayor, Gabriel Brown, the city clerk, finance, Sharon L. Stevenson, the assistant city clerk, Tammy Wilhoit, the administrative clerk, Cassandra Farmer, and the public works, waterworks supervisor, Roger Williams. They would each have a role to play with the accounts there at Fork Bank. I would also anticipate that we'll have other similar resolutions in the future as we work our way through the city's accounts to try to bring those up to date. So if you'd like to do that, you would do that by motion.
I can answer it. The way it was set up years ago, Mike could probably elaborate on this, but the way it was set up, the state wanted cities and municipalities to have their money spread throughout a variety of banks. So currently we have money in US Bank, Heritage Bank, BB&T, and Fort Bank. I might be missing one, pretty much about every bank within a stone's throw here. At Fort Bank, we typically, we really only have, we have 2 CDs and a savings account, but we use Fort Bank because take our water money from the water towers there. They'll count the coins for you. It's a lot easier, and they just deposit it. So if that makes any sense, but yes, the main reason why, because I asked the same question, I really did, was like, why, why? But that they wanted cities to have their money spread into different banks.
And Mayor, it does go beyond that. The state law requires that all of our funds, since we're a public agency, have to either be fully insured by FDIC or fully collateralized. So in order to do that, you need to spread it out across more than one bank.
So if the money in Fort Bank is a savings account, what is that money used for?
I believe it's I think that was a water and sewer fund, am I right?
Excuse me, talk about today.
I'm pretty sure that's a water and sewer fund. I could follow up with you on that if you'd like, but I'm almost positive that's what the account is. The other 2 are CDs. The reason for the need for this is, and actually it might be too late. We had a CD mature and I had a 10-day window. But when I went to get my name put on, I found out that the last person that was actually mayor of this town to have their name on the account was Paula Jolly. The last city clerk, other than Joyce that had just retired, on there was Peggy Gregg. We had 3 mayors on the account that haven't been here in quite some time. Our previous mayor, Mark, was not on the account at all. Kind of hard for me to take a CD and roll it into a money market account or do something, get it out of that, because basically as it is with the CD maturing, it's just going to roll over and start again. And I'm afraid I may have missed that window because of this. So it's just one of those things that,
Housekeeping.
yeah, pretty much.
Get our house in order.
So can I get a motion for that?
Motion.
Can I get a vote, please? Sorry.
Carl Dietz.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Bobby McDonald.
Yes.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
All right. Next, we have ordinance number 2018-02, first reading.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance of the City of Walton, Kentucky, amending the City of Walton Code of Ordinances in order to classify violations of the city's parking ordinances as civil offenses with civil fines, thereby subjecting such violations to the city code enforcement ordinances procedure. As you all know, we've talked about this for a couple of caucus meetings. I put it in print now at the request of Councilmember Wainwright. And what this will do is bring our parking ordinances under the code enforcement ordinance. And as we get ramped up, it'll be another tool in the city's toolbox to be able to do enforcement of our ordinances without having to go to court on every one of them. So as you're accustomed to doing, you typically vote on this at first reading. So I would ask if you want to go forward with this, we would have a motion for that now.
Motion.
Second.
refer to Sam as a code enforcement officer?
Matt, if you would, could save that until we can go through this process, if you don't mind. Need a vote?
Carl Dietz.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Bobby McDonald.
Yes.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Want to answer that now, or go on?
I can answer it briefly. We are in the process of hiring a board. I've met with code enforcement officer, along with the city of Union. It was with the city of Union's city administrator. This is just a potential officer. I passed along the information to Councilman Wainwright of the potential officer this afternoon, along with some members. Mr. McDonald's here. I have yet to talk with him. He is someone that is interested in in being a board member. Another board member that council had suggested declined due to time constraints, but we are very close to answer your question. I can't give you a definite time because it's a joint city effort, but we're closer than we've been.
It seems like we've talked about this for 6 months now, and we still don't have an officer, and I know there's a lot of citizens concerned with code violations, whether it be parking or junk in your yard or weeds or whatever it is. And, I'm sure some citizens of Walton would like some.
I'm sure they would, and I promise you they're going to get it. I'm sure everybody on this council will tell you exactly the same. It's something we've been working on. It's something that's going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner than later.
Yeah, I'll add something. So I'll talk right when the train comes. So, yeah, to Gabe's point, I mean, these are positions that we need people, right? To step up and serve, right? I know Judge Moore talked about it. Being calling. These are positions that someone has to, go and put some time and energy into, right? Go maybe do a little bit of training and to serve their fellow citizens, right? Because we haven't had code enforcement, and Boone County's not going to really go enforce parking because they don't want to go to court, and the gals in the office can only send so many letters to them about high grass, right? So there's never really been an enforcement mechanism, and so I think we're close to it. I know we built a heck of a system on the website to make it user friendly, and so now it's just about putting folks in position that are willing to give them time. I know I went down to Carrollton to KLC training. It was about 4 hours and a manual this thick to learn some stuff. So that's some things that would be included, that you'd have to do just so that you could help participate in the process. But I know, I'm sure when Paula talks about the soup kitchen needing volunteers, talk about board of adjustment members and things like that. These are just people that just got to step up and help, right? And so I challenge anyone here, if you're interested in these positions that keep on coming open, people say, hey, why isn't it ready yet, or why isn't it done? Majority of it is because we don't have the folks to fill it, or the people who are filling it don't fit the criteria. So.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Or should I wait until you're all finished?
Up to you, Mayor.
Is that okay? All right. My question is, I filed a complaint about a month ago, and it was sent to Boone County, then it was sent back to Walton. I have not heard anything about this complaint, what was done, if anything was done, on the 2 houses on my street owned by the same person that are falling down.
So is it a planning and zoning concern, or is it?
Well,
It probably will be, right?
It should be a planning and zoning.
So I think, Vonda, to answer your question, later on the agenda, I think we're rolling planning and zoning into the code enforcement, so that then under one umbrella, code enforcement can handle not just long grass or junk in the yard, but some of those planning and zoning violations that you're talking about. I think Mr. Duncan can probably give a better dissertation on why that's
5, 6 cars at a time parked in the yard.
Sure, and I know there's a lot of concern, right? I mean, I think that's, if you go ask the county, and the county hasn't had the diligence, or that was the nice word to look for, but Boone County, King County has done it, but Boone County hasn't. They haven't had the intestinal fortitude to do it, right? And so they haven't done it on the county level, and so we're kind of doing it on our own, right? So we're learning in the process as we go along on how to do it.
Once you get your board in place, how long do you anticipate it will be before you can actually start doing something about these properties?
Once we have the board and our officer, our code enforcement officer,
We should have started immediately. What we're doing tonight is adopting several ordinances to tighten up our code enforcement ordinance book. And as the mayor indicated, once we get our board members and our officer in place, tears will be shed, I can tell you. I've represented several other cities that have a very vibrant code enforcement program, and once you get up and running and people see that you're serious, fines and liens get placed, you start to get compliance, and you'll see a lot of cleanup. I can't tell you when that's going to start happening, but you know, we're methodically putting everything in place so we can do it properly and legally and effectively.
You said that when you get an officer, did you not say you were sharing with Union in Walton? So if Union already has one?
They don't.
they do not. I had a meeting yesterday with the city administrator, works directly for the mayor of Union. He is the main person for Union in regards to that. He reports directly to the mayor. We sat down and we interviewed a man who is a code enforcement officer, the code enforcement officer for the city of Warsaw. I had another name passed on to me. I've yet to contact. He was a former state trooper or worked for the Kentucky State Police in some aspect. But we did sit down yesterday at a very, pretty good meeting with the guy as far as it goes. He's a retired Warsaw police officer. He started doing this just to, in Warsaw. It was explained to me by him. The first year that they started this in Warsaw, he had around 87 citations issued. The second year, or 87 cases, and the second year he went down to like 60 something. And in their third year, 5 months, almost 6 months in, he currently only has 8 cases open. So if that can, add to what Mr. Duncan was saying about how, it probably is, it's going to be, there's probably going to be some violations had, but once you get this rolling and people understand that we're serious about this, so I don't want to go around putting liens on people's houses. I don't think anybody here does, right? It's not something that when we first started talking about this, it wasn't something the council was like, hey, let's just go start fining everybody. The idea is, just because
Compliance.
if you live in this, it's compliance, and you should be able to enjoy the same peaceful life as anybody. Your neighbor shouldn't be able to make your life miserable because he's got his gutters are falling on the ground, shutters hanging off. It's I could go on with it. I think we've hashed on this quite a bit over the years. I'd be more than willing to talk with anybody about it after the meeting. I'm sure council would feel the same. You've got me sidetracked where we went to. We're on 3.
now.
So this is.
Portable. Want me to read it?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is sort of part of the, in the same framework. This will be subject to our code enforcement if approved. This is ordinance number 2018-03, an ordinance of the City of Walton, Kentucky, amending the City of Walton Code of Ordinances in order to prohibit the parking or placement of any portable storage unit, portable moving container, or similar at any time in or on any public way, street, sidewalk, or road in the City of Walton. What we're talking about here is commonly known as pods, and we're putting this, adopting of this ordinance would put this in our parking enforcement ordinance, which the other ordinance will put that under code enforcement. So if people start parking, or if they continue to park pods on the streets and blocking sidewalks and so on, they'll be subject to code enforcement also. This was drafted at the request of Councilmember Brown. So again, as your history dictates, you would vote to do first reading on this ordinance.
Motion.
May I have a vote, please?
Carl Dietz.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Bobby McDonald.
Yes.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
As you can tell, the mayor's been working the city attorney like a rented mule. Want me to read the next one?
Might as well.
Okay, this is ordinance number 2018-04, an ordinance of the City of Walton, Kentucky, amending the City of Walton Code of Ordinances in order to classify violations of the city's zoning ordinances as civil offenses with civil fines, thereby subjecting such violations to the city's code enforcement ordinances procedure. Again, this is another tool in our toolbox for enforcing infractions of our ordinances. The main thrust of our code enforcement ordinance, as it exists right now, is nuisance. But many of the violations, or many of the places of violation, there's a combination of nuisance and zoning violations. Our zoning ordinance allows for enforcement through the code enforcement procedures if we have an ordinance like this in place. My understanding is that the Boone County Planning Commission currently does not have an enforcement officer. So I guarantee you we'll get a lot faster and quicker response with this instead of waiting for them to get their code enforcement officer in place and, filing criminal complaints and so on. So again, this is similar to what Union wants to do. I understand they had a meeting last night and that they're taking their first step to adopt an ordinance like this. This is not one that was requested by a council member or the mayor. This was one that I suggested in order to more fully put the tools in the toolbox that we need, and also working in conjunction with the Union City Attorney and the Boone County Planning Commission Director. This would be needed to carry out our program. So I would ask you if you want to fully, I guess, equip the code enforcement officer and the code enforcement board, you would approve this ordinance, and you would take that next step tonight by doing the first reading.
Make a motion.
Okay, can I get a vote, please?
Carl Dietz.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Bobby McDonald.
Yes.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Next would be the first reading of ordinance number 2018-05.
Again, this is one next step in our procedures. This is an ordinance of the City of Walton, Kentucky, amending Section 34.65 of the City of Walton Code of Ordinances in order to provide for a non-law enforcement citation officer to serve as code enforcement officer to enforce violations of the city's ordinances, which are subject to the city's code enforcement ordinances procedures. If you look down on the actual added language is on page 1 going over to page 2, but if you look at the very next definition, what we currently have in our code of ordinances, the code enforcement officer is a city police officer, county police officer, safety officer, citation officer, sheriff, deputy sheriff, university, airport police officer, or any other public law enforcement officer with the authority to issue a citation. Most of those focus on a law enforcement officer, and many cities have their police department, their police assigned to do code enforcement. We do not have a police department here. My understanding is, and the major already left, but I would imagine he doesn't want to do it. So what we've done in other cities is created under the statute a citation officer that can investigate the violations, write the citations, write the violations, and appear at the hearings. And that person can be a non-law non-current law enforcement officer. The one that I'm most familiar with that fills this role is the one down in Warsaw that the mayor has talked to. He is not currently a police officer, so this would open our proceedings up so that we could have a non-law enforcement citation officer, such as a retired law enforcement officer, to do the code enforcement. So again, this is another tool that I would ask you to put in your toolbox. You can take that first step tonight.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, can I get a vote, please?
Carl Dietz.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Bobby McDonald.
Yes.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
We have ordinance number 2018-06.
This is an ordinance of the City of Walton, Kentucky, amending the City of Walton personnel policies. I know you all have been talking about some of these for some time. Councilmember Wainwright asked me to go ahead and start drafting this. Most of what is in this ordinance was on that wetboard over at the city building. And we did track down a current copy of the code, of the personnel policies. And what I did is took that language and just modified it according to what you had on that board. The only question I have, and I'm going to point it out in section 1, the request was to allow a full-time worker 1 week vacation for the period of time 6 months to 1 year of employment. In other words, they wouldn't get any vacation until 6 months. They would qualify for a week during that time after 6 months. You already had in your personnel policies a full-time employee 1 to 2 years, 5 days, which is essentially 1 week. But someone penciled in the copies at the city building plus 8 hours. So it's essentially 6 days. I cannot find that in any ordinance. However, I'm advised that we've been actually doing that for a number of years. So there's probably an ordinance or an order or something that just didn't get officially in the handbook. So as you see, I've bolded that plus 8 hours on 1 to 2 years, 3 to 9 years, 10 to 15 years, and 16 years or more also. Section 2 changes the rate of leave accrual for sick leave and increases it a little bit so that full-time workers can get some sick days during their first 6 months, and then afterwards it would increase four days also. If you look over on section 3, which goes on page 1 to page 2, this is section 3 of the ordinance. This also pertains to sick leave. Our personnel policy currently allows a worker upon retirement with at least 15 years of service to be paid for any accumulated sick leave. In other words, they can cash it out when they retire. But the suggestion was made that to be eligible for such sick leave cash out, the worker needs to provide the city with at least 30 days advance notice, unless they're medically unable to provide that notice. And also, no worker who has been terminated for cause shall receive sick leave cash out. So that's section 3. Section 4 would increase funeral leave from 3 days to 5 work days. Section 5 would change the schedule for provisional employment compensation from minimum wage to $9 per hour. If the mayor determines that a particular provisional employee has additional skills or experiences, he could up that up to 20% more than the $9 per hour. You already had the 20% in there, but we're just doing away with the minimum wage part of it and setting it at $9 at this point. Section 6 of the ordinance, which is the actual last section of this ordinance that would change the wording of the personnel policies, changes the credit card, or it would change the credit card policy that you've adopted in Municipal Order 2013-09. Currently, only certain employees could have a credit card to do city business and city travel with. This would allow for the mayor to be issued a city credit card for city business only. So that's a lot of words. If you'd like to take the first step towards adopting that ordinance, you would do that by motion also.
Motion.
Second. Just discussion real quick on it, just for everyone who's here. Just sum all that up, because that was a lot. If you are a brand-new employee at the city of Walton that started today, for the first year, you wouldn't have any vacation, you wouldn't have any sick days. So you'd work 52 weeks, and hopefully you don't get sick, and hopefully you don't want to go see your family or whatever, right? Because if you do, you got to take it unpaid. So this is just to come up in the real world and say, hey, when we're trying to get the best employees to come work for us, right, let them, after 6 months of being with us, be able to take a week of vacation if they get sick, have a couple of sick days. They don't, the first year, they don't get the amount that other employees get. They get a smaller amount of sick days, but it gives them some for that first year, so they can feel like a part of the team. So hopefully that clarifies.
Is there a cap on vacation days or sick days that aren't used with an employee's life?
They can only roll over 30 days a month. If they have 45 days, they gotta use 15. They can only roll over a month to the prior year.
So if someone works 20 years and they don't want to take a sick day, you owe them a large sum of money. Is that?
No, I think there are caps on sick days. I don't
No,
know
sick
what
days
that
is
is, but we're not
accumulated.
changing that at all. We're just, as Councilmember Wainwright suggested, we're just allowing a newer employee not to have to wait a whole year on that part of it.
But yeah, it's not uncommon, to your point, in municipalities for people to help, have their sick days and at the end of their retirement, take it as a lump sum. That was pretty standard.
And then have each do the bail out by extra retirement time.
Okay.
For a vote?
Ready for vote? You get a motion?
Carl Dietz.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Bobby McDonald.
Yes.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Council comments.
Appreciate everybody that came out and that left. I hope that we get to work with you all, do some stuff with the soup kitchen, and then maybe, we said old fashioned day, we may need some help, but even with the park things and whatnot, get some use out of that. Since you're all willing to help, and maybe we can come up with some children as well. I appreciate everybody coming, talking, doing their thing. That's pretty much all I have for that.
Gotcha. Mr. Duncan, I have a question. I have a motion to go into closed session. Can I do that after comments?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, and you need the reason.
I have it.
Okay.
Okay. So in regards to a couple of things, one, I already mentioned it, need for volunteers, people to serve on code enforcement, but also volunteers for Old Fashioned Day. So, we're looking at doing Old Fashioned Day just a little different, adding more to the day. And so with that comes need for some volunteers, right, in regards to maybe, help us in booths or help us in cleaning or, there's just, some community service opportunities for maybe kids in school, or church groups, whatever, that like to, do some part-time volunteering that day. I'll be creating a list and doing some time slots, things like that. But we're gonna have some changes to Old Fashioned Day, so we could definitely use some helpers. Also, the point behind that is, yes?
Like I said, I'm not from the city of Walton, but does this town still have a constable?
No.
No.
Okay. I was just gonna throw it out there, they serve subpoenas and stuff like that, they do code enforcement.
Yeah. Okay, I'm lost now. Okay. Yeah, I'll put those things. All right, we'll get back to that. And then, so in regards to the, all the gentlemen and ladies that came and spoke about, a boxing gym across the street, I think, you guys have been to a couple meetings. I think we've had some discussion, individually or as a group during caucus. And I think it's a financial, investment that the city would have to incur, right? So, that building is not usable space right now in regards to a gym. we'd have to take money out of the budget, right, and put it into that building as an investment property to bring it up to just random, just the basic code. And so I think we have to look and say, hey, is it from being a landlord, right? That's what we are. We'd be a landlord of this building, and that building, we have to look at it from a public use perspective. And is that something that we want to do, and be a landlord on a long-term lease or a short-term lease, or invest tens of thousands of dollars in a building that we've already put a $250,000 into? And I can tell you the building's not worth $250,000. Sure, right? And so at the end of the day, we have to look at it as from taxpayer money, right? As a fiduciary responsibility, and what we're called to do. Is that the best investment of taxpayer money? And so I think, I love all the people that come up and spoke. I'm a Marine, right? I mean, you had three Marines come up and speak. It's been hard. So we have to make that decision on what we want to do from a lease perspective, or sell the building, or what.
Well, we got all the things you mentioned, you have a long time mentioning the kids in this community.
Sure, and Charlie, I would say, I know that's, hey, I love the kids. I mean, we want to do everything we can from parks and all that stuff. But I want to make sure that it's clear that it's not a free service, right? I mean, it's a pay service. It's a pay service, right? And so, and we have.
Let me tell you something.
Sure.
I've invested over $150,000 in my own money over the years in this. Probably more than that. So
I think what you're doing is great. Yeah, I think it's great.
I put $150,000 out of it, and I don't gain anything. So.
Sure.
Everybody that puts money out, sometimes they don't gain as much as.
Right, and that's okay for a private citizen to make that call. But we're not putting private money into it. We're putting the taxpayers' money into it. So we have to make that decision as a council, what to do with taxpayer money. Is that, for the 4,100 people that live in the city of Walton and the ones that pay taxes, we have to decide, is that the right investment? And that's all I'd say. I'm sure one day.
All I can say is every community I go to in Cincinnati, I don't care how large or how small, every one of them has a community center for kids to go to in their package. Taxpayer money.
Sure, and I would say that community center probably is multi-use, right? I mean, I'm saying your business would be single use, right? It would be boxing gym. Community center would have multiple entities and multiple.
They've got paid coaches and everything.
Sure.
over there.
I get it. I think we can probably talk offline, in regards to those. But I'm just wanted to give my statement in regards to all the folks that came and talked.
Every time I go somewhere and open up the gym, they either want to raise the rent up so high or talk about tax dollars. Not one time do they really give a shit about the kids, not really deep down in the heart.
That's all I got, Mayor.
Councilman Donald?
I don't have any.
Rose? Stephanie?
Happy Mother's Day to all mothers, stepmoms, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, and new-to-be moms.
Well said. Councilman Brown?
I don't have anything.
Okay.
We want to close. Did you make that motion?
I believe
I was gonna have to-
I'm allowed to make a comment if council doesn't mind before that motion is made. Charlie, it's something we're going to discuss further, and I imagine quite sooner than later as far as what we're doing with that building. I don't think it's necessarily anything to do with any of it. I understand both sides of it. I'd kind of like to see you go in there, or I'd kind of like to see a community center over there. I get it. But I also understand what council's concern is with it. But I will speak to you offline on that as well as anybody. But I did pick up a few things today, and I already gave John one, but I believe there's 11 left. I have nominated petitions and statements of spending intent. If anybody's interested in running for the office of mayor or city council, I'll stick them up on the desk. The filing date is open now and ends August 14th. So if anyone would like to pick up, you would pick up one of each. You have to have 2 signatures on your petition, and they upped the rate this year from a $20 filing fee to a $50 filing fee.
Make that money. Public service is getting expensive.
Yeah, that's what I said.
We deduct that on our.
I had a 20 out and they said 50. I said, what? Oh, man.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session under KRS 61.810 subsection 1A, deliberation on future acquisition or sale of real property with public publicity would likely to affect the value of the property.
Second.
Good. Can I get a vote on that?
Carl Dietz. John Wainwright.
Yes.
Bobby McDonald.
Yes.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
All right.
We're going into closed session.
You all are more than welcome to stay. We'll go into closed session, then we shall return and motion to adjourn.
Are you gonna do it here, or are we gonna go
If
there?
everyone leaves, I guess we can do it here. If not, we'll have to go over there.